What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Trick 10s. Today we are working on a brand new Tracker Grizzly 2072. This is a gigantic boat. This thing does have the 150 Merc on it. It's got some pods on the back, big dual axle trailer. It's a pretty sweet ass rig. I talked to the customer about this, and this is the first boat he's ever owned. It's a pretty nice boat for your first boat, but he's had this thing out a couple of times. There's a few modifications that he noticed right out the gate he wanted to do to it. He does want to have a place to keep his rods. It's going to be enclosed, so we're going to build him a rod locker. It's going to be kind of like a mirror image on port and starboard. He also said that this boat gets extremely hot when he's out there, so he wants us to turf the boat. We're going to be turfing the entire rig. I'm going to be putting in a recessed foot pedal tray. He's got a Minn-coated Terrell up on the bow. I'm going to show you guys that in just a second. This is a gigantic boat. It's taking up my entire shop. We hardly have any room to walk around in here. We did do a Tracker 2072 not that long ago, and we went from the center console to the dual side consoles. And this one we're going to be setting up with dual rod lockers, leaving the center console in. Now that other boat was a little bit older. It was a 2010, and man, I'm telling you, this 2024 model, it seems like it's so much bigger. Maybe it's just with the center console in here. I don't know. But the beam on this thing is 8 foot. So it's a humongous boat. I'm going to hop up in there. I'm going to show you guys this boat, give you a little walkthrough, and then we'll show you what we plan to do with it. Let's get right into it. Check it out, man. This is a huge motor. I'm imagining this thing probably rolls all of 50 miles an hour. But he said he's only had it up about 35. It's his first boat, so he's getting used to it and trying to break it in and get comfortable with it. But you can see it's got these step pods on here. Something I noticed with this boat it did is, you see on the side right here, they added this on. This is pretty cool. This is basically just like the winch eye. They have the same exact piece up on the front of the boat on the keel, and that's what they attach the winch to tighten it down and roll it up onto the front of the boat. But they added them on here, and they added this plate on here. Now the reason for that is because they got the pods in here. You can see where the original transom tie-down strap is at, and I run into this with a lot of boats because when I put the pods on, then your strap is kind of wrapped around a 90-degree corner right here. This keeps it nice and straight. It doesn't put any tension on this corner. So this is a good idea. I'm going to recommend that people that bring me pods to install actually do something like that too, because it makes a whole lot of sense to have that transom strap straight like that. So that's something I'm going to incorporate into some of the future pod projects. Now he does have this badass looking cooler on here. This thing is sweet. It's got the wheels, got a handle on the other side. And one thing he wanted to talk to me about is this cooler. He brought this here because he wants to do something with this cooler, like a little bracket or something to hold it up off of the bottom of the deck just a little bit. And that'll also act as a step because he wants to put a polling platform that's going to come off the back of the boat up over this big motor. Now, he'll probably have a platform up there similar to the size of the top of this cooler, maybe a little bit bigger, maybe a grab bar. But you can kind of see how he's thinking about having, you know, step to the top. Any of the polling platforms we build are going to have ladders on the side too, so you can climb up there. But it's just a thought. We're going to take that into consideration, and we're going to do some measuring and try to get him a price on that. But the boat itself is getting completely turfed. Now you can see that this right here, this is for the gas tank. This is access to the gas tank. So when we turf this, we're going to have to leave this where he can remove this if he has an issue with the gas tank. The fill neck is right over here. It's the same as the last 2072 we did, but inside of here, he's got a big, long, skinny gas tank. And these brackets right here, these are for individual seats. I've never really seen these before, but you just slide the seat in there, I guess, and you can easily remove it. Pretty cool. He also has some tie downs right here. These are for the cooler. He's got a cooler that goes in the center. It's got a cushion on it so he can have a seat when he's driving, or he can stand up, use it as like a little lean post. Eventually, we might build him some type of a permanent lean post type seat thing in here, but that's going to be a little bit further down the road. Now, on the face of this vertical wall, he's got this mount for his stern light, and these are attachments for the original cushion that was on here. It has a piece that like slides into here and allows that cushion to flip forward and backwards, and it holds it in place. So we're going to have to remove this. We're going to have to relocate this. We're going to relocate that plaque with all of his writing and stuff on it for the Coast Guard plate. That thing's probably going to go back inside of one of those back compartments back here because we're going to turf this whole thing back over, down, floor, so on and so forth. But what we're going to be building is on the sides. Now he's got these. This is like some rod tie-down straps where he can put his rods in here. The issue is that from this point back here up to where the deck comes back up, it's not very big. I mean, it's about 80 some inches, but if you're looking at putting some big rods in here, well, you can't really do that. So we're gonna open up this front compartment right here, which is already emptied. And we're gonna open this wall up in the face here so his rods can run all the way up into here. We're not gonna go through that. What that's gonna do, that's gonna leave him a little bit over 8 feet of space from this back bench up to the front of this hatch right here. Now this hatch will probably just be like a dead space. I told him we could probably build some type of a removable pan in here, a shallow pan. That way his rods can still go under there and he can open this up if he needs to get in here, in case they get tangled up or something gets stuck up in there. But we're gonna build off the side of here about 14 inches. We're gonna try to keep it in line with this hatch right here and just basically continue this all the way back to the back bench on both sides, port and starboard. We're gonna incorporate a flat piece up here and we're gonna have a hatch in the back side of that. Now we can't run the hatch the entire length of the boat because that would just be gigantic and it's kind of pointless. You don't really need all that. We put like a 5-foot hatch back here and he'll have like a 3-foot piece up here of just covered flat aluminum where the turf's gonna be. So then he'll be able to access this, and he did say that he wants to access this opening that way. Outside of the boat, he wants to be able to put his rods in here. I don't think it's a bad idea. Personally, I haven't done one that way. Everybody always gets them to open towards the outside. That way when you're in the boat, it's a lot easier to get into your rod locker, but that's what he wants, so that's what he's gonna get. Now this front deck on here is gigantic. I mean, this thing is just crazy big. It's 8 foot, even all the way up here across this thing. So it's got lots of floor space in here, lots of room. The center hatch right here, this is live well. He's got lots of stuff packed up in there, but it's got a little divider in it. And that's a pretty good size live well. I mean, this thing is like 5 foot across here. Inside of here, he's got a bank tank. I'm gonna hop up in here and let's check this thing out. Now check out the size of this front deck, man. This boat is humongous. The center console is pretty dope. The only issue I would have with it is that it's a little bit close right here. Now, it's probably fine if you're sitting up here on the back of some type of a bench seat or something, but to be standing up, I mean, it's pretty tight quarters. We're definitely gonna remove this stuff in here. That'll give him a couple more inches back here. But when I stand up here, and my legs are almost touching the front of the steering wheel, so you don't have a whole lot of room. I mean, this whole console could have moved forward about 7 or 8 inches, and that would have really made a big difference, at least for somebody like me. But this is pretty cool. It's got a nice bait tank inside of here. Good size, everything's plumb. It's got a rod holder on this side, and this side over here, he's got 4. So you can fit a lot of rods up here while you're traveling, and this thing has handles on either side too for your front passenger to hold on to. Other than that though, you don't really have many places for people to sit that are secured unless they're just sitting on the floor or the deck. Now, when he gets these seats in here, obviously he's got some seating back here. One of the things about this boat that just drives me nuts is that it has a humongous back deck on it, and it has this tiny little hatch in here. And this hatch is like a 11 by 20 inch hatch, and the whole deck is 8 foot long. Now, I understand there's a gas tank inside of this bench, but you can see where this bench is at. It's from here to here. So all that area from there back, it's just dead space. Now inside of this area back here, there is a hatch underneath of this cooler. I mean, it's not very big either, but that just gives access to the battery compartments. And I mean, there's not a lot of room in there either. So basically from the edge of these hatches all the way back to the side of the wall, and from here all the way back to the transom is just open space. It's full of foam. And it's kind of ridiculous that they can't incorporate a way to have a big hatch in here. Now, he does have seat bases on here. That's pretty cool if you're anchored up and you want to sit back off the back of the boat and fish, but it would be a whole lot nicer if you had some big, like 2 foot square hatches on either side for storage, because you don't really have any storage in this boat at all besides this hatch right here, which is small. And then you've got these small hatches on either side, which we're about to lose because we're making that part of our rod locker. And then this center hatch, which already has 2 batteries in it. And I mean, there's not a lot of room in there. He's got his tender in there. This is pretty much going to be dead space. I mean, you can't fit a whole lot of stuff in there with what he has in there already. So I would like to see Tracker incorporate some type of storage into this back deck area. It's the perfect spot for it. and it would definitely be nice for a 20-foot boat to have some good storage in it. Now you do have a little bit of storage up underneath it here, but let's be for real. You need to have some more storage and hatches that's easily accessible. Other than that though, this boat is sick, man. He does have 3 of these seat base posts up here installed, which is pretty cool too, because you can have more people sitting up here. He's got this brand new Minn-coated Terrell, and we're going to be putting a recessed foot pedal tray for him right up here in the front. I'm going to have to cut this out. This Terrell has the shallow trolling motor on it. It's only about 2 inches deep, so we're going to have to make him a custom tray, probably throw a couple cup holders in it, because we got plenty of room up here to work with. So we're going to get that installed. We're going to build both of these sides out about 18 inches from the side of the boat, 14 from the actual side wall over. And that's still going to leave him about 11, 12 inches of space on either side to walk by here. Eventually he might come back and add another hatch in here. I don't know. I'm sure he's going to want to do some more modifications to this thing, but I really like the layout of this boat. He told me all in all, price package, he paid about $37,000 for this rig with the trolling motor. He's also got a 12-inch Lowrance unit back there and the 150 Merc on it. So I don't think that's unreasonable at all in today's market. I mean, that outboard alone is probably going to run you 20 grand. So for the boat trailer, you're looking about 17 grand with the upgraded electronics, you know, maybe 15 for the boat and trailer. 3 or 4 grand for that, plus installation. I think you got a pretty good price for it. My honest opinion, I think that this is a pretty good deal for 37 grand. Even though it seems like a lot of money in the world we live in, I think it's a good price point for this boat. I'm gonna go ahead and get some of this stuff removed from here. Austin here with me today is gonna help me out. We're gonna clear this off. We're gonna start doing some framing from this back bench up to the front area and try to figure out these side panel walls, get our hatch dimensions made. We gotta make these hatches, get these powder coated and send them off to the powder coaters, because we're trying to wrap this entire project up in less than 2 weeks. So we got a lot to do in a short amount of time. Getting those hatches built and this foot pedal tray is a necessity. Those have to be sent off to the powder coaters. We don't do that in-house, and that's going to add a couple of days into our project. The turf has already been ordered. We're going with a hydro turf, 1/2-inch cut groove, gator camo, and that should be here hopefully in the next couple of days. Get all this metal work finished up, and then we're going to start rolling with this thing, guys. Let's get back to work. All right, so we made some progress. We only worked on this thing about half a day today, but we got our framing in here for each side, the rod locker, and while Austin was making the hatches that went in here, you see there's some big hatches. These are 60 inches by 11 inches. And then over here, we're just gonna have a sheet to finish this off, but that's gonna open up and give him room to put his rods inside of here. I went ahead and I got these pieces burned out for him. This is for the recessed foot pedal tray. You can see how this works. It's pretty simple. I built one of these in my boat. I have the Altera and the Terrell is what's in this rig. It's the same exact foot pedal. You got 2 cup holders in here, and the center one is just a hole with a grommet where you can pull wires up through for your graph. Normally the graph bridge sits right in front of that. So it works out good. I'm also gonna put another hole in here so you can pull the wire for the foot pedal in up underneath there if he wants to. But in the morning, he's gonna weld this out. I'm getting ready to go burn the lids for this. I'm trying to get this done today before I go home because I need to get these finished and get this and that foot pedal over to the powder coaters tomorrow as early as possible. So I'm gonna go burn those out. It's pretty simple. I'm gonna show you guys how I do that. All right, so look, this is the CAD program. These hatches are tight up to the top of that sheet. It's a 60-inch long sheet. I went ahead and I put 2 handles in here. You got 1, 2, and I think it needs that because this whole hatch is 60 inches. We're talking about a 5-foot hatch. We put them about 16 inches off of each side. That way it'll make sure that that lid stays nice and tight. Here's the sheet. We got a Hypertherm plasma cutter right here, Max Pro 200. This thing cut up to 2-inch thick steel. It's a little overkill for what we're doing with this aluminum, but it gets the job done. Let's go ahead and get this thing rolling. Turn this up to about 106. We got our 5450 on our air in. Now, get it rolling. All right, so there they are, pretty simple. Now I gotta wipe these down. Get all of this water off of here. The water has chemicals in it. It keeps that water from freezing and it keeps it from rusting my table, and it will leave white marks on this aluminum if I let it sit up there overnight, but you can see how that works. Now I'm gonna come back and run a grinder around the edges of these hatches, and then Austin will bend it up in the morning. You can get these things wrapped up. Let's get this other one out of here. Let's get back to work. All right, so there's both of the hatches. You can really get a feel for how this deck's gonna be laid out now. The one thing that the customer wanted to do was have these hatches to where they open towards the inside of the boat. I don't know, he thinks it'll be easier for him to load his rods from the outside. I guess it's not that crazy. It's a little different. Usually we have them open towards the outside, then they'll rest against the outside. But it's not gonna hurt anything for this hatch to open this direction. And really that'll just make it a little easier for him to load the rods from outside the boat. But we gotta finish up some vertical supports going down here. Then we're gonna sheet this and have a little piece of sheet up here. Same thing on the other side, and a sheet up in the front. Now we did make this recessed foot pedal tray. I like this one. This one's pretty cool. It's a shallow one. It's made for the Minn Kota Terrell foot pedal. It's a lot shallower. This is literally the exact same foot pedal tray that I'm running in my boat because I got the Altera, and this is where I got the idea from. literally designed this for myself, and it's pretty neat. You got a hole here. This is for the cable that runs into the foot pedal itself for the power. You got dual cup holders, and then there's another hole here. This is electrical. That way, if you have a graph bridge up here, you can pull your wires and cables up through there. Everything looks nice and neat, and you know, it all fits into place. So it's pretty cool. The only thing about this, though, is that it's tight in here. I mean, you can see where we're at now. That's about as close up as I want to take it. I'd really like to have it back a little bit farther if it was possible. But with this base right here, it's going to be kind of difficult to do that. I reached out to the customer. What I want to do is basically just use these 3 holes and move this back and put this where this is at, and it'll sit back farther. I'll have to drill another hole here for the center of this piece to go down into. And then where that hole is at, it's probably got like a 3-inch hole in it. I'll just cut a circle and tack it in there. And then once we get done turfing everything, you'll never know it was there. But really, this thing needs to shift back, because where it's at now, if he uses a standard seat, then his foot's going to be way over here. He's going to be like up underneath his seat with this pedal. And I'd really like to have this thing back farther, give him a little bit more space in here. So hopefully he'll be cool with that. I was going to go ahead and cut the hole for this tray in here before we send this off to the powder coaters, but I got to wait till I hear back from him and figure out what he wants to do with this, because I don't want to cut that hole and then not be able to move this or something. So I'm going to get his opinion on that before we do that. But now that this is done and those 2 hatches are done, you can get a whole feel for how this thing's going to look. And I need to get these things off the powder coaters ASAP. My turf's going to be here probably in the next 2 days. And I got to go ahead and finish up all these verticals, get all the sheeting done and everything ready. That way, when we get these hatches back from the powder coaters, we're ready to just install them and start turfing this thing. But all in all, it's going to be a sweet build. It definitely changes the look of the whole layout, having these 2 catwalks with the rod lockers. It's a nice addition to the boat form. So we are moving right along with this project. We're making some good progress on it. This seat up here, it's actually pretty comfortable. I've never sat up in one of these tracker seats before, but I like it. It's pretty cool. If you guys have a boat like this, or if you want a boat like this, or if you have a question about this rig, leave a comment and let me know. I answer all the comments and reply to them, and I do appreciate that. It helps drive the algorithm, helps me get more views, and that's what it's all about, is spreading the word and getting more followers and subscribers to help me grow the channel. If you guys really want to help me out, go cop some of my merch. That's on trick10s.net. I'm trying to get some new stuff for the winter. It's going to be dropping up there shortly. I need to move some of the old stuff I got up there, so I definitely appreciate that, guys. Stay tuned for part 2. Part 2 is going to be the install of all the hatches and the recessed foot pedal tray, and then we're going to turf the entire boat. It's going to be a sick-ass tractor when we get done with this thing, guys. I'm pretty hyped about this build, and I do appreciate you guys watching. Hit that like, subscribe button. I'll see y'all next time. Let's get back to work.